What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another preview video for the weekend of rugby coming up for the Autumn Nations 2022. This one is for Ireland versus Fiji, where we're going to check out the official teams that have been announced, go through the teams, see some good picks, some bad picks, and finally give a score prediction. We have done a bunch of these already for week 3. We've already got them all on the channel. Feel free to go check those ones out after this one. If you enjoy this style of video, make sure to subscribe. So Ireland, Fiji, let's start off by talking about Ireland, because last week, of course, Ireland had their victory in that massive game over South Africa. A very tight game in the end score. We did do the match report for it. You can go check that one out if you want to. I was quite impressed by Ireland. I thought they brought a good game. It did feel like at points they were potentially just sort of holding on and keeping it together, but they did the hard work they needed to do. They were helped out by the fact that South Africa had a few pretty poor kicks towards the post, just allowed that scoreline the right way for those guys. But there was a lot of positives to take away from that game. A couple of injuries coming along the way for Ireland, though. So let's check out the team that's been announced to take part in this game. Starting off in this front row, we've got a switch going in here. Now, I've never heard this name before, so Jeremy Luffman or Lauman? Feel free to drop down in the comments how the actual pronunciation is. I'll keep an eye out during the game. I don't know a lot about this lad. Nice to see change there from our sort of usual contingency we get to see in this Irish front row. Rob Herring goes in at the hooker position, and Tadhg Furlong retains in the tight head prop as captain this week. A lot of fun to see. Don't know if he's ever really played captain before, Tadhg Furlong, but nice to see. In the lock department, Kieran Treadwell comes in for his start alongside of Tadhg Beirne. Of course, Tadhg Beirne's more comfortable playing lock or flanker, moves around a lot. In the back three, we have Keelan Doris moving over to the 6 shirt, also plays at number 8, which is nice to see him playing at 6 for a change. Nick Timoni, who's been playing really well at club level. I did try and do a bit of a fantasy league at club level, and I just sort of stopped and didn't really play on with it. But every week, he's still in my team. He's scoring really well every single week. So nice to see him in there. And then in that number 8 shirt, Jack Conan, who's a name I feel like I haven't said for a while in this Ireland team. So nice to see him back in the side. So a lot of switches going on for the team that saw play against South Africa last week. But still some extremely big names in there. I'm sure they'll be wanting to try and impose themselves on a bit of a ferocious pack like Fiji is. In the halfback partnership, Jamison Gibson-Parks goes in alongside of Joey Carberry. Now, among those injury lists, we sort of talk about, I think Conor Murray picked up a bit of a twinge. I think this is maybe a game to keep Sexton a little bit safe if possible as well. Joey Carberry coming in gives him some nice international experience. Gibson-Park's been playing pretty well. Just some of the box kicks have been real 50-50. Some games they're really good, and then some games they're just not quite on point. So hopefully he just keeps that together. In the centre department then, we have McCloskey alongside of Henshaw. Now, interesting calls here. Henshaw went out with a bit of an injury before last week's game, and McCloskey picked up an injury in last week's game. So surprised to see both of these names in here at the same time. I thought maybe we'd be seeing Gary Ringrose alongside someone else. So I see that McCloskey didn't actually pick up a massive injury. He was holding his arm quite hard. So nice to see him back in the side. And then in the back three, we have Mac Hansen, Robert Balakoon, and Jimmy O'Brien in that fullback position. Now, I thought Balakoon played really well. I did actually think after I finished the report last week on the game, I didn't really mention him. There was a couple of people, Jimmy O'Brien and Balakoon, I thought both played pretty well, and I don't think I mentioned them at all in there. So nice to see that Balakoon still gets a start. You know, not a lot of caps behind him, but he's making a nice impact in the world of international. In terms of the replacements then, Dan Sheehan will be coming on in that second half, no doubt, to add a bit of pace to the forward back alongside Cian Healy and Tom O'Toole. Cian Prendergast comes in alongside Max Deegan. Craig Casey getting the start. There's a lot of talk around Craig Casey at the minute, whether he could start getting into this, you know, tier 1 starting team more and more often. He's been doing pretty well if you've been seeing some of the sort of the Ireland A games and stuff. He's been playing pretty well recently as well as at club level. So nice to see him in this side. Jack Crowley at 22 and Gary Ringrose in the 23 shirt. So overall, I mean, you can see the difference. You can see the difference between the South Africa game going into Fiji. There's a lot of changes and a couple of big names missing off from this list. They obviously consider Fiji to be probably less of a threat in terms of winning a game compared to South Africa. They knew what South Africa was going to bring. Fiji are no slouches. They will absolutely bring the game. You can ask a lot of the Scottish contingency from last week. Probably got a few bruises still remaining from that game. They're a hard team to go up against. It's still a big game for Ireland, though. If you watched the World Rankings video we did on the Monday, you know, we saw Ireland holding out that top spot now after beating South Africa. But a loss to Fiji here would probably see them really plummet in those world rankings. So they'll want to come away with a win here. So they've put out enough of the sort of higher cap players along with some new boys, get them in there, get some experience, bring them into the international game. Moving on to the Fiji team then, who we got to see last week play Scotland. I thought it was 2 weeks ago. No, last week we got to see them play Scotland. In a game that they lost against Scotland, I felt like there was quite a few key names missing from that Fiji side. I still think they're struggling a few injuries at the minute. It was an okay game, I think, for Fiji. I thought they played well. The first half especially looked pretty close. I thought they were really going to come for that game. It was just in the later stage of that game, Scotland seemed to get on the front foot and just sort of took that scoreline a little bit further out than I was expecting it to be. So a few things to work on for Fiji. Maybe not giving the ball away quite as easily. There was a couple of handling errors and just sort of going for some of those pop passes. We know that we see them from the sevens, which they're doing well at the minute, how much they like to sort of keep doing the offloads and stuff, but occasionally Scotland were catching them out with that. So hopefully they get it together this week and put on a good performance. So having a look at the team then. So Cotter has named 8 changes going into the side, as well as a couple of people moving around going into this one. So we have Aroni Maori comes in on the loose head position. Matavesi at hooker, and tight head is going to be Saulo. We've got a change in the lock department in Nasila Sila, hopefully getting the pronunciation sort of correct along there as well. Number 5 retaining position. No changes to the back row. Tusi, Botia and Mata all going to be there in 6, 7 and 8, going to be bringing some hard running lines. A change in the fly half position. Teller comes in alongside of Lomani. I like Lomani. I don't know a lot about Teller. Hopefully that partnership's going to work out well for them. Ravuvu and Nyakalevu will be hopefully keeping that centre partnership doing well. I really like Nyakalevu. I think he's been playing extremely well. Again, last week, there was a few real threats in that game. He was absolutely one of them. We saw him getting close to the try line himself, so hopefully he can keep it going. A few changes now in this back three then. Habosi on the left wing. Wainakolo, hopefully sort of getting that close on the right wing. And Tuisuvu moves to the fullback position because I believe Muri Valu picked up an injury during the Scotland game. So a bit of a switch around. It's still a good Fiji team. There's still a lot of key names that could potentially be missing from that starting 15. But overall, it's a good Fiji side. Hopefully, they came into last game a little bit cold. Maybe they didn't have a great deal of prep time going into that Scotland game. So they've had a game together now. They've had a bit more training time. Hopefully, they can give Ireland a good game. In terms of the replacements then, Dolakoto and Natavi will come in on the bench alongside of Atalifo. John Dyer is making a return from playing in the 7, so looking forward to see him getting onto the field. Ben Volavola in there as well. It's a bit of a mixed bench for me here. I don't know enough about the Fijian team, to be honest. I am trying to learn a little bit as we watch this Autumn Nations, trying to learn a few names. I thought I did okay learning a little bit about the Fijian team last year, and so many of them have switched up this year. So it's a good Fiji team, but going over to Ireland is a tough game. We got to see some of those areas that maybe went a little bit wrong for them against Scotland last week. We'll have to see how they improve. In terms of a score prediction for this one then, what do we think? Well, I think I'm still going to be backing Ireland for this one. I think there was a couple of mistakes going on in that Fiji-Scotland game last week. Ireland looks pretty good defensively. They managed to hold out the Springboks. It'll be more an issue of penalties. I mean, had Cheslin Colby actually getting a few of those kicks, the scoreline could have looked kind of different. So Ireland will be wanting to make sure they're not conceding those penalties. Now, Fiji don't mind going for the 3, but they absolutely love a running game. So maybe the penalty count might not be quite as an issue for them. But I still think I'm going to be backing Ireland for this one. And I think I'm going to say Ireland to win. I'm going to go with 14. I'm going to go for 14. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section along with your score predictions. If you enjoyed this one today, guys, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you all enjoyed it today. And I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.